So what I'm saying is that when Biden takes to the podium, right, in the fake White House that he has there, Lord forbid he should actually do something from the actual Oval Office. When he takes to that podium today, he's going to gaslight America. Try and get America to believe that he's actually doing something about inflation each and every day. Try and get America to believe that he's actually fighting hard. Who the bloody heck is buying in to any of that? It's a serious question. It's a worthy question. Do you believe it? Yes or no? Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Rumble. I'm Tony Katz. So good to be with you. Brought to you by Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. Economic freedom, people. We're talking about the basic concepts of liberty here. That's Americans for Prosperity. They do great work all across the country. You should find out where they are in your state and see how you can be a part of what it is they're doing. So this is the pregame, because Biden is set to speak, and he's all super focused on the economy. Super focused, and he's got his people out there letting you know how things are going.
Former Trump White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett says America is already in a recession. Is it possible he's correct?
So I'm not sure where that comes from. So what we saw is coming out of 2021 that we had economic growth of about 5.5%, the strongest one-year growth that, almost on record for a first-year president. Last quarter, the advance estimate showed that there was slowing in the first quarter. However, if you look at the components of GDP that really reflects personal consumption, business investment, that actually grew at a healthy 3.5%. Many economists, we have documented that is a better predictor of what next quarter's GDP is likely to be.
You cannot make a claim that you had a great GDP coming out of COVID when you told people they weren't allowed to work. You can't make that claim. America won't buy it. So if this is the Biden administration's plan in this speech that President Biden is set to give, talking about how we're going to deal with inflation, by making the claim that you have had the highest GDP on record as president in a first term or in a first year. No, absolutely no one is buying that. Midwest Main Street, which is right down the road from where I'm sitting right now in Indianapolis, Indiana, Midwest Main Street is not buying that in the slightest. They don't agree. They disagree, and they think, Joe Biden, you're lying. Your staffer is certainly lying there. You have too much spending and not enough stuff, and you've done zero to affect supply chain issues. You've done zero to make the supply chain better. You had Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, get off maternity leave, or is it paternity leave, or whatever it may have been, and it was paternity leave, and come and lie to us about how you were doing things with the supply chain. Like, for example, you're going to open up the ports 24/7. No one believes you, because you can't get those longshoremen to work 24/7. Never mind you want to hire more people, or if you want to hire more people, where are they going to come from? A lot of people looking to be longshoremen in today's world. You have put zero infrastructure into the ports, and we should be clear, so have a lot of presidents, both Republican and Democrat, putting zero into the technology into the ports to make those things move faster. Then you've got the state of California that makes the trucking more difficult because of their onerous rules on the truckers. You've done nothing to make it better. Zero. Nothing. And now you want to tell us, you want to share with us that somehow you have this vast amount of growth, which is a lie, and you've solved the supply chain issues because you made some proclamations, but we're all living with the disaster that is your supply chain. Should we get into this shortage of formula? There's a shortage of baby formula out there, and it's real. Part of it is because of a recall from Abbott Laboratories. There was a recall on a tremendous amount of formula. Part of it is supply chain issues. And now you're having parents basically hoarding formula, which means if you're somebody who can't afford formula, or you get your formula from a food pantry, something like that, it's probably not there. This is a major issue. Let me say for the record that if you want to gaslight America on inflation and how you're doing something about it, President Biden, you're more than welcome to. But if moms can't feed their kids, they don't care. They will blame you, and they will be right to. And you will suffer in the midterms. All of this, by the way, is to try and keep Democrats somewhat competitive in the midterms when they are getting blown out. Now, blown out in the House yet, yes. The Senate, the way the elections are going and who's up, Senate's still a tough road. This isn't the idea that Democrats are wildly popular. This is just the idea that based on who's running, it's still not easy. And a lot of work has got to get done in the Senate if Republicans and conservatives want to actually have the Senate and be able to fully blunt Joe Biden in the things that he is attempting to do. But when moms can't feed their kids, well, that's the ball game. There's a part two to that ball game, but let's go back to this advisor who believes the answer is, the rich paying their fair share or something.
And finally, he understands that we need to be addressing the federal deficit. The deficit was reduced by over $3 billion last year under his watch. And if you look at his budget, that is that we're on track to reduce the deficit by an additional $1.5 trillion this coming year. He wants to do so by increasing taxes on the very wealthiest, on our corporations, many of whom have paid no federal income tax. Some of the wealthiest Americans have very low tax rates. So he wants to do so in a way that's fair, but he understands that reducing the deficit is another important way in order to address rising prices.
What do you say about a guy who wants to put billions of dollars into absolving student loan debt and then makes the claim that he's working hard to tackle the deficit? He knows we could see him, right? Like he's fully aware that we could see what he's done and hear what he's saying, and we know he's full of crap. We know he's full of crap. And now he's going to try to address the country. Gaslighting is exactly what it's going to be. Let me bring this to you right here. This is the part two, right? About how difficult the midterms are for the Democratic Party. I discussed part one, which is the biggest one. Moms can't feed their kids. You don't get votes. Here you go. National average for gas is $4.37 a gallon. It's $5.84 in California. $4.37 a gallon. Remember, this is the president who was putting 1 million barrels a day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve into the system, absolutely hurting America in the process. Doing this and still gas prices are going up to highs we haven't seen. Now, I was in California a couple weeks ago, and I did see it over $6. I did. And here in my beloved Indianapolis, about $4. When I got back, it was, I think, $3.89. I think that's over. We're back in the fours. And you take that and you add that to just the completely insane way the markets were acting over the last couple of days. The markets have been brutal. Right now, the Dow is up 244. The NASDAQ is up 253. At one moment, according to CNBC, the market was above 300. Well, great. But you had massive losses the 2 days before. The entire crypto world has just plopped the bed. I use that as opposed to using the dirty word. Americans for Prosperity, they're classy folk, and I don't want to bring the show down on their watch. And who knows where the market's going to end up today, depending on what Biden says and what you agree with or disagree with. Is the market going to be thrilled if he puts even more money into the economy? How could they be? More money, less things, that's higher inflation. This is not a serious guy. And he's absolutely going to lie. He's going to lie to everyone. And they still don't have the right methodologies. This was Representative Donna Edwards on CNBC. Listen to this.
And as I listen to this conversation, my view is that we're about 30 years behind investing in the kinds of renewable energies that would get us off of fossil fuels. And we have sitting over in the Senate a $550 billion investment in renewables and in dealing with climate change. And so this is not about just social and moral values. It's about an existential threat.
They can't get off this crazy. They've been talking about the existential threat of climate change for 2 decades now, 3 decades now, 4 decades now. I can't keep up. If the Biden administration were serious, they wouldn't take areas where we've designated it for drilling and then say, oh, 80% of this we won't drill in. You take a look at where the polling is for whatever you want to believe in polling. Heartland.org, Heartland Institute just did this polling. Over 60% of Americans want to see more energy exploration and energy security right here in the U.S. Energy would go a great deal, do a lot for us in being able to move markets. Agreed, it doesn't solve the supply chain issue, but it would be at least talking about America in a positive sense, which is the key. No one's talking about America and the economy in a positive sense. No one's saying, my gosh, we're going places. Under Biden, everyone says, my gosh, we're going backwards. It's what they say. It's what they say. It's how they feel. Everybody gets it. And this is why Biden, you take a look at the idea that moms can't feed their kids, literally, with the shortage of formula. You take a look at gas prices going back up well over $4 a gallon on average across America. You take a look at what's been happening in the markets, the terminology used towards me by friends and associates, bloodbath. Over the past, the end of last week and the beginning of this week, bloodbath. And they don't think it's done. No one said, oh man, go buying now because it's all upside from here. They were all like, let's wait a couple days and see what happens with this market. They don't think we're at the down yet. They don't think we've hit the bottom yet. And now Biden's going to tell us he's fighting inflation. He's got a plan. He's got no plan. Guy's got no plan. And yet it's stunning that he comes out and says the Republicans have no plan. In the state of Indiana, the Indiana Democratic Party does this a lot. They'll say that the Republican Party has no plan on inflation. The Republican Party in Indiana has a supermajority in the General Assembly and controls the governor's mansion. What do you want them to do? Because the conversation is coming from the federal side, where the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Shouldn't they be the ones doing something? Now, if I was the Republican Party of Indiana, I would say you're absolutely right, Indiana Democrats. We're going to get rid of these 27 regulations, and we're going to cut the personal income tax even further. They just cut it a little bit. Eventually, these people get smart enough to make it zero. They're just not there yet. And that's what I would do. I'd say, all right, you want it, you got it. Now we expect you to sign for it. As a matter of fact, we're going to hold a special session just to cut these things. But Republicans in Indiana don't have any fight in them whatsoever. Oh, that's a whole nother story for another day. So Biden is going to speak, and Biden is going to gaslight and make you think that he's working hard, he's cared about you, in the same way he wants you to think that he's really a uniter. The economy is in bad shape, and the foundations are all based on an idea of, or at least as they describe them, look how much better than it was last year. Last year was a COVID year. Allowing people to go back to work doesn't mean you got people new jobs. And yet they believe that kind of talk. The growth of the GDP does not make him the best in a first-year presidency. You got to take a look at the situation as a whole, as it is, as a whole. And as a whole, man, there is no way he can sell us on the idea that he's doing good things. He's got to gaslight us, blame it on Putin, blame it on Republican obstructionism, and blame it on people not paying their fair share. So I'm laying my marker. That's what I think he's going to talk about. That's how I think he's going to go about it. Well, we'll find out if I'm right or wrong. We will find out soon enough whether I am right or whether I am wrong on this subject. And you'll be able to hold me to it right here at the Morning Rumble, presented by Americans for Prosperity. Absolutely love what they do and how they do it. Make sure you get to Rumble, rumble.com/Tony Katz, rumble.com/Tony Katz, and subscribe there and be watching there and commenting there. That's the place to go. And then, of course, you could be over at Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com, as we build out the community and we start migrating people away from Facebook. You got to make the change. Just got to make the change. So that's my plan. That's what I'm doing. Moving everything over there to locals and Rumble. This is it, baby. And if it means we take a little bit of hit now as we start, in terms of some viewership, because we're not in all the places we normally are. We're building up. It's cool by me. I'm down for the fight, baby. Down for the fight. And we'll find out whether I'm right about Joe Biden. Make sure you are subscribed, rumble.com/Tony Katz, and I will catch you tomorrow, everyone. Don't forget noon at WIBC and WIBC.com for the radio shows, and I'll catch you then.